and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your NASCAR, DFS, and sports betting home. That is Brian Twining. I am Kyle Robert. We are back. We are going to recap all that was Atlanta, look at our betting card, look at our DraftKings lineups, the nonsense that happened as the race came to a conclusion, and look ahead to COTA, which should be a little more predictable, a little more reliable. Hopefully, the guys that you bet on don't just randomly end up 60 laps down for no reason, and we can figure that all out. But before we dive into that, Brian, it has been a nice couple days of rest after the madness of March. 4 days of just betting and live betting and second halves and team totals and
first to 10, first to 15.
Just kind of get back to just kind of recapping, regrouping, and then get ready for another 4 days of at least it won't be as bad. I always forget, like, it always is so crazy the first 2 days, and then the Saturday, Sunday I always think are going to be crazy too, and it's not till the following weekend, but it's really that first weekend that it's just kind of like mellows out. Like there's like a game and then there's another game.
Yeah.
Obviously the afternoon there's a couple going, and shouts to YouTube TV who just like saved my life with this quad box, and they had all the games going and made it really nice. But yeah, it is a bettor's paradise, but it also calms down a lot faster than I think people realize.
Yeah, I think that really started happening a couple years ago when the NCAA really made a point to try not to put so many games on at one time during the round of 32, which, I mean, as a bettor and a sports fan, I prefer that. Like there's nothing like having 3 to 4 games going at one time and stressing 3 or 4 of your picks in your bracket, or, being able to make bets on all 4 games at the same time. Like, it was something that the change I'm not exactly too fond of. I mean, even out here on the West Coast, like I don't like watching a round of 32 game all the way until friggin' 9 p.m. at night on a Sunday. They really need to look at that and push those up, especially on the Sunday slate, because you do not need 2 standalone games in the morning on a Sunday in March.
Yeah, but I do appreciate that you can kind of get a feel for the game too. If you want to make a live bet, if you want to bet the second half, you can kind of keep it. And yeah, you're not riding 17 different games like it's a Sunday in NFL season. But
yeah, and I do want to say, like, this was the hardest year I've had since betting NASCAR and liking NASCAR, of like trying to pay attention to the race, because I was at the sports book, like they had it on, but there was no audio, so I was missing out on all of the chatter. You hear about all the speeding penalties. I was texting you constantly asking what happened to this guy, like why is he 10 laps down all of a sudden. So yeah, it'll be nice to get back to normal, the NASCAR schedule kind of taking over Sundays after we get past this weekend.
100%. It was, I think we talked a little bit about it between the craziness of super speedways in Atlanta, just a lot of especially the early part of the race being a lot of follow the leader. It did make it an ideal race to kind of intermix with college basketball craziness. But yeah, no, it was a fun race. There was obviously some craziness. And as you can see from our betting card, once I pull that up, it wasn't the strongest week. You did try and warn me. I did not listen because I'm stubborn, and I had come off of 2 back-to-back outright winners. Still in the green, baby. But not the week I wanted. But I did have some vibes going. So let's pull up our card. Let's talk a little bit about it. We'll talk some DraftKings, all the good stuff. Can you see that okay, or you want me to zoom in?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, cool. So had some good stuff going. Obviously, Ryan Blaney did not get to there. That was the weirdest thing, because he speeds going into the pits, gets put like 2 laps down, ends up on the lead lap because of the pass through, and all of a sudden Daniel Suarez, who I have as in some matchups and some other stuff, gets caught up, blows a tire, and is like a bunch of laps down, and now all of a sudden Ryan Blaney's fighting for the win, and I'm just like, how does this happen? I mean, it's a super speedway, so it makes sense, but like,
That is something that I did want to hit on, and I find it really interesting. I don't know what they're going to do about this because they're going to have to do something, in my opinion. When you have a super speedway type race, you can't have multiple guys falling multiple laps down without being able to recover. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, Bubba Wallace, who we all know is extremely good at super speedways. He had a tire go down, he spun or whatever. He hit the interior wall, and he was put a couple laps down. He was never able to recover a single lap after
Yeah.
going down because so many guys were getting lapped on the track or because of green flag pit stops and not able to get back on the lead lap. It was
Yeah.
just an overall weird super speedway race for me, especially with the lack of cautions early. I think that put a lot of people behind the eight ball, and people are probably going to have to adjust the way that they, their strategy going into the fall race because of that type of stuff.
I think the thing we need to remember is, we can bet some head to heads and some like top tens and stuff, but I think we need to save our outright bullets for when the race starts. Cause like we both really liked Ryan Blaney. Obviously this is a week you didn't bet him because, you had been burned too many times, but we knew he could perform here. We knew the potential was there.
Yep.
Wait for him to get kind of in the back, wait for that number to rise a little too far, jump on it and hope you can hit a couple lottery tickets, because that's really what this track is. Like, you can be on some guys and hopefully perform well, and you really just need them to stay clean for the entire race. And unfortunately for a lot of our options, it did not come to fruition. The dinger was fine. Josh Berry was in the mix at points.
Well, he got caught
Ross
up
was,
in the Harvick
yeah.
issue, like that. So the Harvick wreck took out a bunch of contenders, and
Yep.
even my initial reaction was, "What the hell is Ross Chastain doing?" But after you text me and they've reshowed the replay like multiple times, I had looked at it on my phone. I mean, you could tell he didn't touch him.
Nope.
It was just a disruption of air, with the downforce on his car, so he spun out. But I mean, like, it just goes to show you the volatility of this type of race. Like, my Byron versus Larson matchup was looking fantastic until he got caught up in that wreck right there. And then, Bubba again, he always runs well here. So it was just something that, like, you have no control, or you could do a ton of research for these types of tracks and still lose every single one of your bets because of some craziness like that.
Yep. So overall, not the greatest week. Did have Bowman over Stenhouse, which was nice. Brad Keselowski is the only driver this whole season to lead a lap in every single race.
That is effing wild.
Wild. So RFK, a little more of a contender. My favorite bet of the week was Josh Berry over Chase Briscoe. I had 5 units on it plus 110, and I had 1 unit at minus 110.
Man, I should have went heavier on that. That was like
that
one of my
that
favorites.
worked out. I had Christopher Bell over Ryan Blaney. I had Dinger over Prix. So I found a few matchups to help salvage my atrocious betting card, but definitely not the week I wanted. And you went much lighter, much smarter than I.
Thank goodness.
And honestly, your Byron over Larson take was the correct one until so that's the frustrating thing is, no matter how right you are, if the wrong guy crashes in front of your driver, if your driver crashes before the other guy and ends up one spot behind him, that's the difference. So it was a little frustrating of a week, but because of our last couple weeks of good run, we're still in the green, Brian. I'm up 10 units. You're up about half a unit. But there's still time. We're not even near the All-Star break yet. Like, this is a very fresh season, so we're going to jump in. We're going to try and find some values, and see what we can do. We'll hop over to DraftKings where things did not go well. But once again, there was a lot to like, including Corey LaJoie with a top 5.
Incredible run for him.
Really nice day for him. The Dinger was fine, moved up through the pack, had a solid day. Keselowski obviously was good. Denny was good. It's just there was a landmine or two that cost us. So, for example, this one is Christopher Buescher, who looked like a good pick all day until he wasn't. Ended up, crashing early, and cost us. And then obviously we talked a little bit about Bubba. He got down and he kind of couldn't get back to where he needed to be. Much the same over here. Suarez was running great, was contending, wasn't able to pull it together. Eric Jones had a nice day, pulled out a top 10. Cindric, I'm so mad about Cindric. I had top 10 bet on him. Dude's like 4th, 5th, 6th, running with the Penske guys, and all of a sudden finishes 11th. And like,
well, dude, honestly, it has a lot to do with those last few laps and how they transpired. For instance, Ryan Blaney, he was running on the high line in 3rd, while Joey Logano was leading the low line. And multiple times, there were times going into the corners, whether it was turn 1 or turn 3, where Blaney could have dropped low and either dropped in front of or behind teammate Joey Logano and made a push to potentially try to win the race. But again, that goes to him just not having that asshole mentality.
yeah,
Like,
well,
he's
there was
just too
points
nice.
too where Cindric couldn't get close enough to Logano and Blaney to give the whole line a push.
Yeah.
So Blaney was like, well, I got to find somewhere else to go because I'm not getting what I need from behind me.
I guess.
And so he goes up and then he doesn't want to go back down because he's going to get stuck in that nonsense again. So it was a weird race. Joey Logano was probably the best car all day, as much as it pains you to say. Brad Keselowski running near the front, leading laps in every race, and Joey Logano winning multiple races at this point. This is Brian's worst nightmare, but it is the season we've been dealt.
I will say my Brad Keselowski championship futures bet at 60-1 is looking pretty nice right now.
If he gets a win or two, you're going to have a real contender there.
Yeah.
And then our third, once again, Byron was running great, crashed. Suarez was running great, crashed. Josh Berry didn't have the race I was hoping. He, like I said,
he was
up
top 10. He
had points where he made sense. And Justin Haley too. Justin Haley was flirting with top 5s at multiple points throughout the race, and then just kind of settled in. So obviously not the week we were looking for, but time to get back on the wagon. So let's talk about Auto Park this week. Obviously, this is one of the first races where the lack of Chase Elliott is kind of feeling it. Obviously would be, if not the favorite, right there with Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch. But it's also kind of crunched up a lot of names. I think this week's going to be really interesting, Ryan, because you can make a case for 8, 9, 10 guys, and I would not push back at all. So it's really a matter of figuring out maybe 2 or 3 guys that we're really into, and then maybe finding ways to, whether it's matchups or whatnot, to get pieces of the other guys. So Kyle Larson 6-1, 6.5-1, depending on where you look. Kyle Busch 7 or 8. Same with Ross Chastain. Tyler Reddick is kind of the 9, and then we start jumping into double digits with the best numbers. So let's stop there and let's talk about these 4 guys. So we talked a little bit about it with Wormy. Tyler Reddick really took strides last year. Do we want to give him credit? Do we want to give the car credit? And maybe, in effect, that's a Kyle Busch, point or feather in his cap, I guess. And then obviously Ross was amazing, took huge strides. But these 4 names I think are really compelling. We can't bet all 4 of them. I mean, I guess we could, but we really should pick a name or 2 to cut a ride. So who among this group at their current numbers make the most sense to you?
Well, let me just start with a little stat tidbit that I gave Kyle prior to recording here. Chevrolet has placed 4 inside the top 5 in both COTA races since the Cup Series started coming here. I mean, obviously, we talked about that last week at Atlanta. Chevrolet had dominated in 2022, and it was the Fords who turned the tables and dominated. So I don't know if you want to take too much away from that, but with that said, the spring race, it was Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson. The fall race, it was Ross Chastain, I believe Alex Bowman, and then a couple other Chevy guys inside the top 5. I think it was Tyler Reddick both occasions. So for me, just looking at this board, I think the 2 guys that I'd be willing to go to the window with would probably be Larson or Chastain. And just value-wise, I would just skip to Ross. It's hard to get to that 8-1 number, but he was incredible here last year. Top 5 finishes in both races. Obviously, the guy is a competitor at every single track he goes to now. Even this last week in Atlanta, he was running perfectly fine, and then he just got shuffled to the back and just couldn't work his way up front.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And to your Chevy point, even at Road America, Chevy had the top 4 slots. So
Yeah.
it will be interesting to see if that's more of a combination of the new car with Chevy, or
Also, yeah, so this just popped in my mind. We cannot get out of here without mentioning no stage breaks.
that will be an interesting play.
That's going to be crazy.
Because then people down a lap won't be able to jump forward.
Yep.
I'm curious to see the impact of that.
And the entire green flag pit stop strategy is going to change. Like, you're not going to have guys pitting before the end of a stage anymore. Like, it's going to be a completely different race than we've seen the last 2 years.
That's a great point. I hadn't even really thought of until now. But yeah, no, that's really interesting. Yeah. So yeah, Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain are incredibly compelling options. Red Dog has been better the last couple of races, so he's interesting. And then obviously Kyle Larson's the man. So it's going to be a difficult decision between the top echelon. I do like Ross just because of his performance, and you're getting a little bit better of a number. But as of now, none of these guys are on the betting card, so I'll have to figure out how I want to do that. It's probably going to be more of a wait and see how practice and qualifying go before I really blow the bankroll on those guys. I'll take a couple shots with longer shot guys, and go from there. So Dinger full ride, 11, 12 to 1, rightfully so. It will be interesting to see, Brian, because in previous years, Dinger has been just like a spot driver, so he would be a lot more aggressive at ends of races to try and win, and didn't mind crashing if it meant he could potentially go for the win. But now he's doing a full-time ride. He's trying to maybe secure enough points to get into the playoffs, and if he can get a win at one of the road courses, obviously that would be huge for him. But I think he'll be a little more a little less like balls to the wall, and maybe that helps with top 3s, top 5s, top 10s, and you don't get the shaft on him. So he is an interesting William Byron, interesting 12 to 1. Obviously he's had a great start. Christopher Bell, you can get as long as 15. We talked about his strides at road courses last year. I think he is somebody that makes a lot of sense. Austin Cindric feels a little underpriced. I don't know that I love it, but it is what it is. Daniel Suarez is my first on the card bet at base 16 to 1. I'm going to take at BetMGM. He made tremendous strides. Obviously, Trackhouse made a big jump last year, and I think he provides tremendous value at that number.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do for practice and qualifying. I mean, we are getting practice this week on Friday, so I'm excited to see what Trackhouse brings to the table after performing so strongly in 2022 at road courses, with Suarez in particular doing extremely well. And like you said, the one thing that I'm gonna try to be a little wary of and not go so heavy with pre-practice or qualifying bets, even though it's not a super speedway, is the fact that we don't have the stage breaks. Like, I really don't know what we're going to see out of some of these guys. And there's going to be less ability for them to make up time with that. And I just worry what's going to wind up happening is the top dogs on these courses are going to basically run away with it early. And it's going to wind up being like an F1 race where you have the group of guys, like 4 to 5 drivers whose cars just offload fantastic, and they just run away.
Yeah.
Especially because we don't normally get cause cautions at road courses unless guys are racing extremely hard, which if they separate out and they're driving single file, like, we may go an entire race without a caution.
Yeah, especially if we have like last year where Kyle Larson or Tyler Reddick got, seconds ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fantastic point. So it might be a week where you just say F it and take 3 of these guys and don't really worry about the rest of it. But I don't know. I think
But I think so without the stage breaks, I almost feel like this might be one of the rare weeks where it's better to wait at a traditional track till after practice to see the type of speeds these guys are bringing and the lap times, because then you can just basically say like this guy's going to be able to go over the long run and just, or I mean, you won't really know the real long run speed, but you'll have a good idea over whose car is fast. And if they can build a long enough, a decent enough lead, like it's going to be difficult to catch up with it without those built-in cautions.
Yeah. Alex Bowman at 20-1 is also going on the card. Obviously, he's a Hendrick guy. Hendrick has done really well here. He made strides, and he has been just a really good driver overall since coming back from his concussion issues and all that stuff of his messy end to 2022. So love that number. I could see Suarez and Bowman are both guys that if they perform well in practice, they qualify well, those numbers are getting cut in half, and you will not see them. So if you love a guy with a little bit longer odds, this is the area to jump on them. I think it's hurts my brain a little bit, but Ryan Blaney at 20, Joey Logano at 25, Denny at 30, like all these numbers make sense based on expectations, but like these are the elite of elite drivers. It's really interesting to see them priced this low, and we'll see if people end up jumping on them and maybe they find a way to get a winner. But there is a lot of risk for guys that don't traditionally do amazing at road courses.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, I'm assuming the sports books are looking at this race as basically there's like legit 2 favorites, and that's Ross Chastain based on what he did here last year, and Kyle Larson, whose road course prowess kind of showed its head during his championship run in 2021.
Yeah.
But like you said, they are running the risk of being liable for huge payouts with a guy like Logano, who has performed pretty good at road courses. His car has been damn fast in pretty much every single race this year, outside of the race where he crashed, and I cashed the not top 5. But
thanks, Joey. We love you.
Yeah, so they're really risking it all here. The guy for me in this range that I'm going to take a shot on, and he's going to be added to my card, is Chris Buescher, 30-1 over at DK. Top 10s in the last 5 road courses, dating back to I believe it was Sonoma. It was the second road course of 2022. He has top 10s in 6 of the last 7, dating back to the end of 2021. 4 of those were top 6 runs. He finished 3rd, I believe, at the Indy road course, or one of those ones. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. But RFK has looked absolutely on fire to begin the season. And something that I noted today while doing my little short for work, I don't know if people are like looking at this the same way that I am, but RFK's return to, not necessarily return to prominence, but Roush Racing's return here is eerily similar to what we saw Trackhouse do at the beginning of last season. And this is the track where Ross the Boss got his win. So, I mean, you're looking at possibly a Keselowski win here, or
the Keselowski wins here, and then Chris Buescher wins at Sonoma, where Daniel Suarez won.
No, it's got to be Buescher and then Keselowski, please.
It's not going to be.
But no, like, obviously, I'm grasping at strings here, but it's crazy to see the steps that RFK has made. They are much better than they were last year, and
they really made tremendous strides. They're gone from a team that's contending every so often to a legit contender each and every week.
Yeah,
Keselowski's been there. Buescher's been there.
Plenty fast.
Yeah, so they're very real. And I wouldn't fault anybody. And in fact, you could just bet both RFK guys at 30-1 and call it your outright card until we see other ones. Truex is the name that it really jumps out for me. 2 years ago, he was the guy that was competing with Kyle Larson each and every road course. He obviously hasn't been the same guy last year in the new car, but I think there's still a lot in the tank, and I think Party Marty could be interesting. So another guy where if you want to take a little bit of a shot on what he used to do and not so much what we saw last year, 30-1 is a great number on him. McDowell too. McDowell, I know he's not necessarily the guy that wins every week, but he had some good runs at road courses last year.
I was just gonna say McDowell for me is definitely in play for a top 10 this week.
Yeah, like he finished 8th at Road America. He finished
8th at the Indy Road Course.
Yeah,
6th at Watkins Glen.
What was he at COTA?
13th at COTA.
Yeah, like he was. Yeah, top 10, top 5 maybe is pretty good. Truex started 17th to finish 7th here, even in a year where he wasn't.
He was crap last year.
Yeah, he was crap on road courses.
Let's not beat around the bush here.
So, top 10 in terms of driver average. Interesting number. Jimmy Johnson will be here. We'll see what he can do. Obviously,
I was just gonna say, do you have any interest in Jimmy Johnson, Kimi Räikkönen? What is that guy's name? Like Jaron Burton or something? Yeah, Jensen Button. No, all guys that come from different.
I mean, the name for me is Jimmy. He was a lot more of a contender than I thought he was. Obviously, it's a super speedway. It's not that similar, but if his car is like halfway decent, I think he could be a top 10 candidate. I don't know that he can win, but he is interesting for sure.
Also, too, I was just going to say, I think it's interesting to note that you're having a lot of Cup guys driving in the Xfinity Series this week as well.
Even
and there are some taking a dive down to the trucks as well.
Yeah, to get experience on this track.
Yeah. Yeah, especially Almirola jumping into the Xfinity.
That might be something to keep an eye on too, Brian, is we can try and watch some of the trucks and especially the Xfinity stuff to see how the lack of stage breaks and stuff impacts the race as a way to kind of get ready for Sunday, because that could be a little bit of a difference maker. So maybe we'll record on Saturday after the Xfinity race just to see if there's any nuggets we can pick up that maybe help us find the winner. So let's look at some matchups, and then we can always go over to Caesars too if you find anything worthwhile there. Ross Chastain over Kyle Larson at plus 110 is going on the card. I'm a sucker for Ross at road courses. I'm getting plus 110. I know Kyle Larson is amazing, and he could easily win this race, but it just sometimes numbers just are too good to pass on, so I will do that.
Yeah, I don't fault you there. There's another Chastain market that I'm going pretty heavy on.
Yeah, so let's run through these.
It's right there. Chastain over Kyle Busch. In terms of recency bias, like the pendulum is clearly in Chastain's favor here, and even just recency of this season in general, like Chastain has been much better. He was better at road courses last year. He's better this year. So getting pretty close to even money in what the books consider an even matchup. I'm going to smash this.
I will say I agree with this difference here. I think Kyle Busch,
based on the equipment change,
is a better road course runner and in a little bit better of a car. So I don't hate that at all. Bowman over Blaney, I actually like that quite a bit. I know it's minus 120, but I'm going to take that.
I will remind you, Blaney should have won, I believe. Oh man, what road course? He was leading one of the road courses really late, and without pitting, he didn't take tires. And he went for an extra long run, and I remember he got boat raced after the restart, and it was the one that Chastain dipped through the maintenance.
Was it COTA?
It might have. No, it wasn't COTA.
Then it was Road America. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I believe. Okay, that's probably what it was. Yeah, it was the one that Chastain tried to take the shortcut.
Yeah. Maybe that was Sonoma. I don't know. They all.
I don't remember it. Yeah.
Brain. Dinger at plus 100 is nice against Byron. And like I said, with the potential of making a NASCAR playoff, I could see him like last year. He was willing to do dumb things to try and win the race, and
win the
maybe he's
race.
not
Yeah.
willing to do that. Did you find any interesting ones on Caesars that we need to hit on before we go to the top 10s?
Oh, yeah. Well, it is interesting to note on Caesars, they have Allmendinger as the favorite over Byron.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I don't
I'm gonna
like.
take that then and
Yeah,
see what I
take the
can
plus
do.
money there. Let's see. This is a really intriguing one. Here we go. Chase Briscoe versus Martin Truex Jr. Briscoe is a minus 125 favorite over Party Marty.
Give me Truex all day.
I was just going to say Truex is minus 105 in this matchup.
Yeah. Where is that?
It's Caesars.
I will happily take that.
I actually really like that one. I'm gonna hit that too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Top 10s. Any top 10s? It might be early. We are recording this a day early because of scheduling stuff. Oh, we have some reverse.
We do have Caesars top 10s.
Okay. So I'll look at Rivers, and if you see better numbers on Caesars, please shout them out. Dinger minus 122 to top 10. That feels really nice.
That's fantastic. He's minus 240 at Caesars.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's a real number?
I will confirm, but yeah, I believe it's.
All right. That's ridiculous.
Let's go to the old Google machine and see what we can find.
Oh, by the way, if you're not aware, we are getting more rain here in California than I think I've seen in the last like half a decade. So if I float away because we flooded out, it was nice knowing everybody. It's ridiculous.
All right, so
yeah, so those numbers are live.
Okay,
that's definitely adding to the car here.
Yeah, so here's winner, here's top 3, here's top 5, here's top 10. Yeah, minus 122. And like Dinger over Byron, minus 122 versus minus 109. Like,
yeah, exactly. There you go. Dinger should be the favorite in that matchup.
That is how you do it, folks. You find ways to compare and figure out where the value is, because sometimes there's numbers. Suarez at minus 104 is interesting. Bowman at even money is going on the card. I didn't even love Alex Bowman this week, but apparently I'm all in, so I'm just going to ride the lightning.
I think Alex Bowman has become like last year's Christopher Bell and the previous year's William Byron. He's on our card almost every single week, I've noticed.
Yeah. Busher at plus 150. Does that make your card? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's already added.
Brad K at plus 155.
I can't do it. I just can't bet him, man. It's like it's a bad omen.
Truex at plus 155.
Can I interest you in a? Can I interest you in a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 12-1 to top 10?
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. I would rather take like an Almirola 550.
That's wild. Who? You know what? Hold on. That's an interesting.
Raikkonen plus 113 versus Jordan Taylor. Let's see. Michael McDowell, that's priced fairly. That's priced fairly. Anything interesting?
How is that possible?
Any driver to win all 3. So win stage 1, stage 2, and win the race plus 650. I don't hate that if we work under the. But there is no stages, or I guess
so they have stages, but there's no stage break.
Right.
They're not throwing the caution.
So if you just get in front and you lead all day, which could easily happen.
Yep, because there's going to be no reason for people to pit based on the stages, in my opinion. Because they know that there's not going to be a yellow, so you can't maneuver it the same way that we've seen the last few, since they started the stage breaks.
Kind of like this one, the Grace winner under 9.5.
Yeah, you get Chastain, Larson. Oh, but that's it, really. Kyle Busch.
Yeah, Kyle Busch. You get 3 of the 4 favorites at plus money.
Or you just take under 19.5 and you get Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson.
You
Ross
realize
Chastain.
Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin are both like super long shots. I'd rather just bet them. If
that's true. Yeah, you're still with the same people, I guess, with the same top 3.
Right. So I'd just take the better number. Interesting to see. Anything good for top 5? Which Brian mentioned before the show, but DraftKings actually had top 10s this week, which is a wild turn of events for them. So curious to see if they run that back next week or if that was just like a 1-week wonder.
All right, here we go. On Caesars, top Toyota, they have Reddick as the favorite, plus 140, Christopher Bell behind him, plus 250, and then Party Marty at 5-1.
Don't hate that.
I'm gonna add that right now.
Trackhouse to win the race at 5-1 is kind of nice.
Hoping that Truex unloads really good. What is our?
Oh, that's a good call. 14-1. I feel like I'd rather bet 50
I just bet both of them at 30.
Yeah. $50 on either of them rather than $100 on RFK.
Let's see, Caesars. What was that number? 5-1. They got some nice numbers on top Fords here. Cindric plus 350, Blaney plus 475, Briscoe plus 550, Harvick 6-1, Busher and Logano both 6.5-1. I almost feel like you could bet both of those guys.
Yeah.
Since I went so light last week, let's get wild.
Oh, now we're gonna get reckless, huh? Give it all back. You were real smart last week, and now you're like, you know what? That wasn't fun for anybody. So, all right, let's recap the card. Let's give the people a best bet as we sit here Tuesday afternoon. And then let's get out of here. As always, if you're enjoying what we're doing, make sure you smash the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I know there's a lot of people watching these that are not subscribers, and we'd love to convert you to subscribers. You get access to the content first. When we record a day early, you get notifications in your inbox. It does a lot to help the channel, helps us make this content and keep it completely free. So we would really, really appreciate it. All you have to do is hit subscribe, then you're done. You don't have to worry about anything else.
Give us a thumbs up too.
Hit the thumbs up on the video if you're enjoying what we're doing, and always leave a comment. Let us know if there's a driver you like, if there's an outright you like, if you hear a race prop, if you hear Brian say something dumb about Joey Logano not winning and then he wins the race. Like, please feel free to blow us up. So we would love to hear what your thoughts are. We'd love to hear any drivers. There's been a lot of good tips over the seasons we've been doing this, drivers that maybe Brian and I weren't really thinking about, that when we get names, we go, oh, you know what? That's actually a really good call. And we go back, we look at the numbers and find some winners. So as we sit here right now, Tuesday, I have 2 outrights. I have Daniel Suarez. I have Alex Bowman. Suarez is 16-1 and Bowman is 18. Bowman is Suarez. Yeah, that's right. Suarez is 16. Bowman is 20. Thanks, Caesars. I also have Chastain over Larson because of the plus 110. I have Bowman over Blaney minus 120. I have Dinger over Byron at plus 100. I have Truex over Briscoe at minus 105. I have the Dinger to top 10 at -122, and I have Bowman to top 10 at +100. I'm strongly considering one, potentially two outrights at the top of the board. Larson 6.5, Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain at 8, and then Tyler Reddick is kind of a distant 4. So if I had to do it right now, it would probably be Busch and Chastain. But really want to look at how cars unload. If I end up getting a 4.5 or 5-1 because Kyle Larson just looks that dominant, I'd rather put a little bit more on it at that point, knowing what I know rather than taking a little bit of a risk. So we'll see how they unload. We will be watching practice. We will be watching qualifying, and we will be back to update you on the betting card Sunday morning. Brian Twining, give the people your card as it sits now and hit them with a best bet as we sit here on Tuesday.
Well, so now I have two outrights on the card. The first one is Chris Buescher, all the way down to 30-1 over at DK. I gave you all the reasons there. I'm actually looking at this one a little bit in the opposite direction of what Kyle says, just anticipating a regular unload by Hendrick. I'm going to add Larson at 6.5 right now. I just don't think there's a world where he doesn't qualify inside the top 2 rows. So I think this is the best number you're going to get all week on him.
Brian is smarter than I sometimes, and I will join you.
Now, that being said, if he blows an engine and he's got to go to the back, like, we're talking about a whole new ball game here for that, especially with no stage break cautions. Moving on. I got a couple of matchups here. Chastain over Kyle Busch and Martin Truex over Chase Briscoe. My 2 top 10s I have on the card, AJ Allmendinger and Chris Buescher. Buescher at +150, found over at Bet Rivers. Go grab that now before it gets hammered. And then a few little props here. Martin Truex Jr. to be the top Toyota at 5-1. Buescher and Logano both at 6.5-1 to be the top finishing Ford. Now, for my best bet, even before we see these cars practice, qualify, all that crap, I'm going to take the plus money top 10 with Chris Buescher. He's been extremely good at road courses dating back to the end of 2021. And this is a guy who only has one finish outside the top 20. Yes, I understand that's not a top 10, but that means this guy is running really good, and he has never had better equipment than now. So I think Buescher is somebody who's going to compete inside the top 10 all day, potentially a top 5, and hopefully get me that 30-1 outright.
I like it. I think it's smart to get in on the plus money top 10s on guys that you think could qualify well, because that number could be even or minus money. So I love the call. My best bet as we sit here on Tuesday, I'm going to take Martin Truex over Chase Briscoe. I think that is a great bet. I expect Party Marty to remind people how good he can be on road courses. Maybe he doesn't win. Maybe he doesn't top 5. The top 10 number is really nice too. So don't fault anybody who goes to that, because he could be awesome. But that being said, I'm going to be a little safer and take him over Briscoe, expecting them both to qualify in the same general area. Then Truex just stays in front of him all day, and we have ourselves a winning bet. So I am throwing 3 units on that. Once again, if you are liking what we're doing, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the thumbs up, and let us know your favorite bet as we sit here. It'll be Wednesday for y'all, so please drop your favorite bet in the comments. As I mentioned, Brian and I will be back. We'll record Saturday in your feed Sunday morning with our final betting card, look at DraftKings, talk about stuff we've seen in practice and qualifying, and get you set for Sunday's race. That is Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.